Welcome to this episode of the Ripple Effect Evolution, where my guest today is the effervescent and very pretty Dr. Kyrene Clay. Kyrene is really right now in Houston, so we're doing a hookup. So I hope everything goes right with this episode of my podcast. So Dr. Clay has over 15 years of experience in mental health, specializing in clinical and organizational psychology. She completed her Master's of Science and Doctorate in Psychology at Walden University, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and did her pre-doctorate and postdoctoral internship at Public School in Atlanta, Georgia. So her practice is currently focused on educational and organizational assessment, working with children with challenges, ADHD and autism. And she also does a host of other things with couples, with work environment, a lot of work, Dr. Clay. I don't know how you keep up because I understand you do part of your work here in Trinidad and part in Houston. So, Houston, Texas. So, welcome to the show and thank you so much for accepting the invitation. So, I want to talk specifically about post traumatic and the collective trauma that we have suffered from COVID and how we are moving forward, and are we seeing a rise in depression, anxiety, and all the things that have come about because of the lockdown. So could you enlighten us of what some people might even know that they have trauma?
This is quite true. This is very true. Well, first, I'd like to define or explain what collective trauma is. So, collective trauma is a psychological injury or distress that impacts an entire society after they've gone through a catastrophic event, like pandemics, war, genocide, all those types of things, but major social disruptions where individual trauma only specifically impacts a singular person. Collective trauma is more of a broad spectrum and it impacts an entire community and even generations. Yes, even
So
generations.
we
Yes,
are all in this together because we have
all of
had
us
a
together.
global lockdown. So the collective
Mhm.
trauma is for the entire planet. We're not talking
Exactly.
specific to one group of people now. We're talking to the
Mhm.
entire planet. And it could, as you say,
Exactly.
impact generations. Now, I didn't even go so
Mhm.
far to research that. I am just thinking that
Yeah.
right for now, as I came out of COVID, I didn't want to drive. I didn't want to meet anybody because it felt
Mhm.
like you were doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go
Yeah.
out of your confined space anymore. And I felt like my
Mhm.
car was something that I shouldn't even touch. So,
Yes.
for meeting somebody, right? So your anxiety
Mhm.
levels grew. And anxiety is something that I'd never experienced before. So I
Really?
was, yeah, so I was in shock I mean, I'm getting older and I accept that with age things change. But yes,
Mhm.
it's a different feeling. And is
Yes.
that normal for us as human beings, or should we do something to get over it?
Well, because within the pandemic, populations have they were dealing with isolation, they were dealing with illness, loss of life, unresolved grief. People have this general anxiety about the future, basically, is what was happening. And so, because we were all having this shared emotional response, you
Yes.
know, basically, we were like, okay, stay away from each other. We didn't trust people anymore. We were actually passing on this intergenerational transmission of anxiety and phobias and this OCD type behaviors that you were
Yes.
starting to see individuals show. So we are showing increased signs post pandemic of anxiety, depression, PTSD, post traumatic syndrome disorder, and stress disorder, and other mental health disorders. So sometimes even people were having issues with unexplained illnesses. Doctors were saying, oh my goodness, do we have these hypochondriacs or anything like
Yes.
that? No,
Yes.
it's none of those things. These feelings were totally real for these individuals. Imagine having everything that you felt safe about being taken away from you completely.
Yes.
Your
Correct.
ground, your foundation is shaken completely. So now you're like, okay, I have no support because you told me I'm not supposed to go and socialize with others. I'm not supposed to trust other people. I have to be very careful. I have to wear a mask. I have to wash my hands 50 million times. So, in saying all of those things, now we're seeing an increase in all of these mental health disorders because individuals with the anxiety and the increased depression, they're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Who is supposed to help me? Who can I trust to actually assist me with this? Within Trinidad and Tobago and most countries, right, at this moment in time, we're trying to increase mental health support, but many individuals don't have access to it. I know within Trinidad, some of them are living in very remote areas. They can't get to clinics. They don't have a phone.
Right, remote areas and that sort of thing is one thing, but in Trinidad, the stigma attached to going to a mental health worker is too big it's a hurdle to get over. And that's the first step because, okay, you're saying there is help. People could, well, even those who could access it, they don't want to.
Because somebody is saying, "Oh, you're going to see Dr. Clay. What me crazy? Oh, they start those stigmas, as you put it before. Those things are the biggest hurdle for individuals. So we need to raise awareness about mental health.
And it is quite normal. It is quite normal to go for help. And it is quite normal coming out of a pandemic to feel the way you are feeling because we have been conditioned. So nothing is really wrong with us, but we could still access the help to fix it.
Yes. But the help needs to be presented in safe spaces. Okay, so again, you may come to a doctor's office, yes, but you could also call me on the phone. We can have a session like this where you are in the safety of your own home and no one sees you coming to my office. You know, I purposely don't put up a sign because I want to remove some of that stigma that as a clinical psychologist.
So then this is a good thing coming out of COVID. This is a good thing coming out of COVID because now you could FaceTime, you could go on Zoom and you could get a client without, as you say, leaving your home or you leaving your office. And it's a nice way to access therapy.
Yes. And you don't have to only do it by yourself. I would love for us to do group sessions of other individuals who are feeling like you are feeling or like I am feeling. And we can support each other in group sessions as well as doing it on your own if you choose to. Families should be, in therapy for many things that they would be able to help each other because sometimes you miss something. What if you miss the signs?
You said that the lockdown caused a lot of phobias, a lot of anxiety. So in my family, we lost 3 persons within a year and a half. None from COVID, but it happened in such a short space of time that you didn't recover from one and something else happened. And because of COVID, like I said, my mom was a teacher. She was a very religious person. She used to read Ramayana. And we did not, at that time, you were allowed 20 persons at a funeral. So you still felt that you didn't get the complete closure because you didn't get the type of send-off that you would have been accustomed to without COVID. And so little things like that impacts on you because I knew the person she was. She was a grand person. She would have known thousands of people, you understand? So yes, and it's still impacting you because those are the memories that you can, and I didn't even think, as you said, the generation to come will still be affected by our trauma. That is huge.
Yes.
So we should want to work it out
in the right way. Yes, but most people think, oh gosh, you'll be fine, man. You'll be okay. Just suck it up,
That's the typical Trinidadian way of dealing with everything. If you turn your head, it's going to go away, but it's not going to go away. You need to address certain things, and collectively, not just as a society here in Trinidad, I think the whole planet, a lot of people are in denial of how traumatized we've been.
Yes. And that's one of the things. I mean, remember, you have stages of grief and you've lost something. You haven't just lost a person. You've lost your safety. You know what I mean? You've lost your peace of mind because now literally you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, something else is going to happen. I could feel it. Yes.
Exactly. And that's it. So what are some of these steps we could do apart from going for therapy? Are there other social things we could do to overcome it? Because as you say, some people would not even identify that therapy is needed. So what is something else you could do for yourself as an individual?
Self, I would definitely say, looking after your mental health well-being, taking moments and pause, not feeling as though, oh, I have to save the world. I must make everybody's problem go away, but you're not worrying about your own self-care and your own issues. Taking those moments to pause, as I said. Oh gosh, focusing on your breath. Mindfulness is so important.
Important.
When I say
Correct.
to people, you take those 2 minutes, literally take, stop, go outside, not go outside to take a drink and be lying with a whole bunch of people. Go outside
Ground yourself
and
with
sit
nature.
down and relax for a minute. Ask your children, I just come home. Give me 5 minutes to center myself with me, which means go inside, take your shower, take your bath, whatever it is that you need to center yourself. Read a book, listen to your favorite song outside of the space of others crowding you. There is nothing wrong with a little bit of selfishness.
Well, I don't even think at this stage is selfishness is really what you're saying, self-care. Because I think a lot of us have lost ourselves after this
Mm-hmm.
pandemic
It has, it has. And
and
you
as you say,
focus on others more than your own. Yeah.
and you yeah, you don't even know what is real anymore, right? Our reality has shifted drastically, and we need to come back to center. We need to keep pulling back into ourselves and focus. And as I was chatting earlier to someone, a yoga instructor actually, the best gift you can give to the world is the best you.
Oh God, you've just said something so fabulous. When I say to women and men, how are you going to be great partners and great parents if you're not good to you? It's impossible. The best
Correct.
you, if you put the best you forward for you, everyone else will receive that energy, that vibe in a positive way, and they will share in it. It becomes
We are the
contagious.
ones, and we are really the ones doing it ourselves, isn't it? We are the one putting the pressures on ourselves. We're the ones giving off that vibe that something isn't right. And when we all just really need to tap in into what's good in us and put it back out there. And it's a process.
Right, but removing also some of the negative screen time. I get it. Sometimes people just wish to just be scrolling, or, like my dad loves to be watching the news, and it's all this negative news that he just inundates himself with. But, definitely remove some of the screen time. You don't need to be looking at everything that's happening all over the world.
You're right.
Reduce that,
You're right.
you know.
I remember my parents used to be quarreling with the television, and people say, they're not hearing you, right? Because it would upset you so much. And in that time, the screen time is even more with your phones and your iPads and everything else. People get, and we know what's happening in any part of the world now. So we need to put that. I don't listen to the news anymore, really. It is depressing.
Also talking to each other, taking that moment and asking, when you actually ask somebody, Diane, how are you doing today? You know, what's going on? Is there anything that I can assist you with? And at that moment, when you ask that question, pause and listen to what the person's saying, because sometimes people be, we have to do lunch, sometime I will see you later, right? Okay. But they ask you how you're
Genuinely,
doing.
yeah, genuinely mean it. Yes, because we make plans. Because most of the time you say, hey, how you going? But you ain't waiting to get a response. Nice to see you, but you don't really mean it.
You don't. You're looking good enough. Bye. You're even waiting
Okay,
for me to
so
say bye.
I saw a movie recently where the woman actually invited people to her what it is when somebody passes and you have this they get together after, right? She was dying with cancer, and the gist of it is that it's wasted on the dead. A wake and a eulogy is wasted on the dead. So she told everybody who loved her to come and say what they thought about her while she's still
Yes,
alive.
yes. Yes.
And I took a part of that, and like but for people's birthdays, I said, it's the biggest thing to tell somebody what you think about them while they're still alive. Don't wait until that person is gone to say, oh, he was a good person. And I think the real mark of a good person is to when at your birthday people will say all these great things about you, and it shows the measure of a person. But why should we wait until the person is gone to say those good things, you know? So I am at that stage now where I appreciate every moment, and I'm trying to live my best life by appreciating the good people in my life and attracting those kind of levels of people into my circle, so that what you give, and then we come back to the ripple effect. The ripple effect. What you give, you get back.
This is very true. I mean, when I was thinking about this, and when I said, in essence, the collective trauma to me is like dropping a stone in a pond. That initial splash that we get in the beginning, the ripples from that splash can actually reshape the landscape of that entire pond, right? So in our society, including our leaders, our ministries, our policymakers, and media like yourself, and the people, how we respond to that splash determines how long and how deep those ripples are going to go. So I'm hoping that with shows like yours and some of the other, media shows that are out there trying to impact collective trauma in a positive way, I'm hoping that they strive to understand that the trauma, we want to be a beacon guiding communities towards recovery, not leading them away. We want them to go towards being.
Yes. So we need to start at the top. We need to start at the top to let them know we needed to have that trickle down effect, and see, again, the ripple effect. And yes, it has affected everyone. So we need to get to the point where we get more social, we care a little more, we look into ourselves and try to fix what we could. And if you can't, go and seek help.
Assistance, exactly. So even if I'm not able to help you, I will find someone who can. Like you mentioned, proper diet, exercises, but with yoga instructor, self-healing, all of those things. If your faith is something that you need to tap into,
Yes.
spirituality,
Good.
become
Yes.
deeper within that relationship with you and your higher power. If those are the things that assist, then yes, those are the things that you tap into, those positive things, not increasing substance abuse, not
overeating.
yes, not exactly, not increasing toxic relationships. We're supposed to be removing those, not adding to them.
A big one I came across recently is your self-talk. What you're telling yourself all the time, and we do not realize that we get what we project, what we are thinking of. So we have some points to work with, and we have some little nice tips from Dr. Clay. And we want to say thank you so much, Dr. Clay, for being on the show. And we hope to have you back. And we hope to have an in-person chat when you come to Trinidad.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. And I want to say thank you for all those words of wisdom and advice. And we look forward to seeing you in Trinidad pretty soon.
Thank you. You will very soon.